Good. He asked me how many periods today because the ACC's out here today. So, golly. Let's go to period 7. How about that? Inside run. You get to see inside run. You get to see some one-on-ones. You get to see it's pretty good stuff. So, we had a day off yesterday. Had a good day. Practice before. I thought the effort was a lot better. It's up and down what you focus on, what you get. But I love our kids' attitude. We talk about attitude all the time. I love the kids' attitude right now. They're into it, doing the little things right. On the field and off the field. So, questions?
What week of camp so far? Eli in particular, but the quarterbacks overall. What have they shown you?
You know what? It's a great question for a defensive guy. I had this discussion defensively. You look at like the difference between last year and this year. Even last fall camp, going into practice 7. Like the quarterbacks are faster with getting the ball out, whether it be pass skelly, team periods. It seems like they're just a lot smoother with exactly what their reads are, where the ball's supposed to go. What am I looking at? Okay. And I think we do a lot on defense, so it's going to really help us. I mean, just the ball's coming in, getting delivered faster. The defense notices because there's more completed passes. I don't know what the completion percentage is matter of fact, let them stay till period 9. Okay, how about that? They'll get a water break in. You guys can hydrate as well. But period 9, pass skelly. I think just watching a quarterback get the ball out in that period might give you a little idea. Just the ball's coming out of his hands quicker. Obviously, I don't want a video going out, but I just think he knows where to go with the ball. They know where to go with the ball. Cole's been excellent as well. Mason just keeps strutting around. All 3 of those guys I'm impressed with. And then Bo's doing a great job as well. So it's a good group of guys. David Lynch. I mean, they're all doing a great job.
And is that familiarity, but there are some new guys involved?
There's familiarity, but it's year 2. I mean, I think I've gotten that question about a dozen times, Jeff. Just as far as like what's going to be the difference. I just think it's year 2. It just clicks. Sometimes it clicks. It just takes a little longer for someone to click it, and it's repetition. You just can't get enough reps. If we could practice every day like the old school days, we'd be worn out, but we'd be smarter. But with the reps we get, they just know what to do with the ball a little bit faster. The reads are becoming faster. Defense is trying to confuse them and not confusing them a whole bunch.
When you think about the process of players separating themselves from others, just on the eventual depth chart, what are the components of that in your eyes? Does it boil down to simply who's making less mistakes out there? Or just what goes into that when you're evaluating separation?
Everything. It comes down to mistakes. Again, we like to say, freaking doing things right? I mean, hopefully there's not many mistakes, but we know there's going to be. There's 11 guys out there. Probably every play there's someone, probably 2 guys out of place. Sometimes it hurts you, sometimes it doesn't. But it comes down to execution. Okay, doing the right thing, making sure you know where you're supposed to be and fitting in place offensively and defensively. Whether it's spacing in a pass route or just being in the right spot in a fit in a run fit. But it comes down to making plays too, right? I mean, you can be if you're that guy that's out on the field doing everything right, but you never make a play, just doing the standard, the elite guys make plays. Kyle Lewis is going to make a play, right? Heem's going to make a play. So those guys that are also excelling and making plays. I mean, not just making a tackle, but getting the ball out. Sacks are great, but we like strip turnovers. So, who's making those big plays? And Heem has got he's got a knack for knocking the ball out, And again, who's catching the ball and falling down, and who's catching the ball and running with it? That's great. It was a 10-yard pass, and you got 10 yards. Okay, how about doing something with that after? So all those elite things. So everything's taken into account.
Have we progressed far enough into camp to where it's possible to start seeing some separation, or do you still feel like there's some time to go?
I think, every day we try to get 3% better. I think, Saturday when we scrimmage here, I think we'll see a little bit more. And again, you can come out Saturday. These guys can come out at the beginning of Saturday if you want to, we can do a little thing. I don't want to mess you up. Okay. I know in the past we haven't. Paul Zeitz is in the house. All right. So I think, Saturday we'll tell more because it'll be all live. We haven't gone all live. Today I think we have 2 live periods, so we'll find out from there.
Since the pads have come on, what have you seen in the trenches specifically how that offensive line is coming together?
There's good plays and bad plays. Plays that we got to clean up, technique, fundamentals, knowing exactly what to do. Again, the hard part about it is defenses are always doing something different. You get an inside zone and it's versus base, and all of a sudden then they move and you're trying to clean things up. There's just so many moving parts, I guess, on offense and defense, and the same thing for both sides of the ball. So moving parts, you got to adjust to it. You got to have big eyes. You got to see what's going on and have vision.
We talked to I'm going to say his name.
Guerriere.
Guerriere on Tuesday. It's hard for freshmen to get playing time, but he was practicing with the ones a little bit. Is he a freshman you see getting some playing time this season?
He's one of those guys, but practice 7 today. We find he could totally screw that up today, right? I mean, every day you get evaluated, but he's done enough to at least get reps with the 2s. He's a football player. We saw that in the spring, and he's continued to do it. I mean, there's other guys like TK's been, a little bit up and down at this. Kinsler, that is, been a little bit up and down. But there's a few guys that could get in the mix there. But again, time will tell.
You said last Wednesday that you hadn't really had any conversations with players in the offseason about money, and you were glad about that. That could stay off your plate. What about with Allen? How much of your spring was spent, collaborating with him about how to approach revenue sharing, what you guys would do on that front?
I let them take care of that. But there was conversations obviously with him, like how he could help, and he's been outstanding. I mean, I think just the support that he's given Pitt football, myself, and in our recruiting department, just to help with the issues that you may have. There's been no hesitation. There's been no well, let me get back to you next week, or it's been like, hey, get it done, do what you need to do. I guess there's trust there, which is good.
Anything else?
Okay, thank you.